Okay, here we go. All right, thanks everybody for joining us on another edition of ExtremeHealthRadio.com. I'm here with my co-host, Kate.
Hello, everybody.
She's also my wife, so.
That works out nice.
Co-host / wife. We're having a good time here. We're going to have a great interview with Dr. Bradley Nelson. It's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. And you've been going through his book, Kate?
Oh, I love his book. I cannot wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Justin, and we're broadcasting worldwide from Southern California. I would say it's another day in paradise here, but we're locked in with clouds today.
Socked in.
Not so hot today, but that's okay. We'll press on. We'll press on through the darkness of the clouds that we're exposed to. But we're currently doing 4 shows a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So it's been a lot of fun doing those. And if you'd like to follow us on Facebook, feel free to do that at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook. And it'd be great to have you part of our community, right, Kate?
It would be awesome.
Yeah, so go ahead and click the like button and follow us on there. That'll be a lot of fun. And I want to thank Mike Adams of Natural News Radio for having us on his network. And he's got a lot of great health shows on there. And it's a really great thing to be on there with Mike Adams. So thank you, Mike, for that. And today's tax day, Monday, April 15th, 2013.
Nice.
Tax day. Maybe Bradley Nelson will be able to help us get out of our taxes with the emotion code.
Or the bad emotions attached to tax day.
That's right. So this is episode number 87. So you can check it out at extremehealthradio.com/87. And on that show, we'll get the transcription up in time, and we'll put show notes and any reference materials, books, or websites that Dr. Nelson mentions. We'll put those on the show page so you don't have to take notes. And if you'd like to email me, you could do so, Justin at extremehealthradio.com or
Kate at extremehealthradio.com.
And we'd love to help you out in any way we can, if we can. Or you can call our voicemail line, which is 949-391-7363, and we'll play your message to our guest on the air. And this show is brought to you by Amazon.com. And if you want to support our work but don't want to donate or buy any of our products, that's okay. But if you go to Amazon, you can support us that way. If you go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, that will just redirect you there. And whenever you make purchases, we'll get a little commission. So that'd be a great way to support us. On Wednesday, we've got some great guests coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, April 17th, we have Stephen Huer from Synergistic Nutrition. And One World Way is his flagship product there. And it's a raw, I think it's the only raw, or the first and only raw grass-fed whey protein powder on the market. Pretty amazing.
Serious?
Yeah, because most whey protein powders aren't,
right.
They're all just loaded with, all kinds of bad hormones and not raw at all. And so he's going to be talking about that. And then we have Adam Bergstrom on the 18th.
Oh, Adam again. I love him.
Thursday, April 18th, solarman111.com. And he's a solar nutrition guy.
Yeah.
And he'll talk about how you can eat foods, but the best time to eat foods is going to correlate with your healing, and it'll speed up your healing. So every food has a time that you're supposed to eat it.
That is fascinating.
So he's a really, really amazing guy. And then on Monday, April 22nd, we have Carl O'Helvey, and he is, from what I'm understanding, the longest living lung cancer survivor.
Really?
I think he's in his 80s, and he was diagnosed with some kind of terminal lung cancer in 1973 or 4.
Terminal.
And terminal. And
quote, terminal.
Yeah, and I think he beat it through lots of natural approaches. So,
awesome.
Yeah, we like talking to people like that. And today I'm really excited to have Dr. Bradley Nelson on the show. He is the nation's foremost leading, one of the experts in magnetic healing. He's written a book called The Emotion Code. And let's see, his website is theemotioncode.com and drbradleynelson.com and healerslibrary.com. He's got a lot of different websites, and he's written a really fascinating book called The Emotion Code that I've been going through a little bit, and Kate's almost read the whole thing
Almost finished it now. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, and so we want to thank you for being on the show, Dr. Nelson. I really appreciate this.
Well, thank you both so much for having me on. It's really great to be here.
Oh, no problem. So now I was just reading this morning that the emotion code is actually part of a larger thing that you have that's called the body code. Is that right?
Well, yes, that's true. What happened during the years that I was in practice, actually down in Orange County, so not too far from where you two are, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. That's right near us.
Yeah, I practiced down there for 17 years, and during all of those years that I was in practice, I was really focused. I think, like all doctors are, at helping my patients to get well. But I think maybe I was more focused than some doctors on really trying to get to the underlying roots of the problem. I was kind of obsessed almost with really understanding why people had symptoms and what was driving their symptoms, what was creating their symptoms. Now, of course, the medical profession is great at identifying symptoms, and then the drug companies are great at suppressing those symptoms with different kinds of medications. But the problem, of course, is that doesn't really get to the underlying roots. And so that's really what I was focused on. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, what I discovered was that the single biggest common denominator of all of our symptoms, whatever those symptoms are, whether they're pain or disease or some other kind of malfunction in an organ or gland or infertility or asthma or whatever it is, all of those underlying problems, all those problems have an underlying common denominator, and that is emotional baggage. And so I learned that, and so that was a huge piece of the puzzle. And then I wrote this book, The Emotion Code, which was published in 2007. During the years that I was in practice, though, what you're talking about is something that we call the body code. And it's kind of funny, as a holistic doctor, you don't generally have, I didn't anyway, have the luxury of providing or prescribing medications to people to suppress their symptoms. I actually was kind of forced to figure out what was really wrong with them. That was my only option.
Okay.
And so trapped emotions were a huge piece of the puzzle, the biggest piece of the puzzle. But then there are other things that can go wrong as well with our bodies. We can have pathogens that can inhabit the bodies, like mold, fungal infections, parasites, things like that. Mm-hmm. There are really 6 different kinds of imbalances. And what I put together during all those years was a system called the body code, that enabled me to very rapidly drill down and figure out what really was wrong with people and what their problems really were. And it worked so well for me that during the last 10 years of practice, after I got this figured out, I was really specializing in treating people from all over the U.S. and Canada who had been diagnosed with conditions that were supposedly incurable by Western medicine.
Right. Things
like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and lupus, and I saw cancer patients and all kinds of weird conditions. But what I found was that all of those diseases had emotional components. That emotional baggage that was part of it had to be cleared and released. But then they had other issues going on as well. And what I found was that by correcting all the imbalances that a person had, I could bring them back to a state of health. I could, their body would recover its health in almost all cases. You see.
Yeah.
So that's what the body code is. It's the body code is really the big picture. It's the system that I used that enabled me to drill down and find any kind of imbalance just literally in seconds. And it now is actually a self-study course that we teach and make available online.
That's interesting. So do you think that there's more importance should be placed on emotions and the energy of the body versus right diet, exercise? How would you compare those two things if you were to compare which one is more important than the other?
Well, that's a great question. The problem is obviously it's all important and it all ties together. And so it's really important to take a holistic view of things. The reality is that about 90% of the pain that people experience, for example, is actually directly being caused by their emotional baggage. And so releasing that emotional baggage can make an immediate change in how they feel. In fact, let me share this with you. We have practitioners all over the world now who are doing this work, and just a couple of days ago, I received a couple of testimonials from a young man in Romania, and he tells this story about a woman named Jane. Jane, a medical doctor, he said Jane had an acute pain, intensity of 10 on the 0 to 10 scale in her left hip, and she was not even able to walk. She was crawling through her home, screaming with pain. Being a medical doctor, she was convinced that she had sciatica, and for the pain, she normally would have had a cortisone infiltration therapy. I accepted the medical reasoning and still offered her a suggestion. I told her that she might consider that the pain could be from some emotional distress that she had suffered. She agreed to try my theory, and after we released about 6 trapped emotions, the pain disappeared completely. She felt a lot of anxiety for some public threats that her husband had been experiencing, and that's what had created these emotions. She was very concerned about her husband.
Wow.
She was baffled, and she said, this can't be real. She walked a bit painless through the house in order for her mind to accept the miracle. And really, truly, that kind of thing is a miracle. Well, if the underlying cause of a problem in the body is emotional, you have to deal with that cause for what it is, and no amount of nutrition and no amount of drugs or anything else or exercise is going to fix it. So even though all of those things are great and appropriate at times.
Yeah, I like what you were saying about a holistic approach, because I would tend to think that those things, right eating and lifestyle and taking care of yourself, would probably just augment and be a supporting role for all the other things that you do as well. So I like what you're talking about, how it being a holistic approach.
Well, absolutely. We all have one shot at our health in this lifetime that we're living, and we want to be as healthy as we possibly can be. And the oldest idea in the history of healing that goes back thousands of years is that health is maintained by maintaining a state of balance in the body. And so that's really what happened. Was I found that there were 6 different ways that the body gets imbalanced in general, and by correcting imbalances in those 6 ways, we can restore health. And again, the single biggest piece of that puzzle is the trapped emotions that we develop. And to help people understand what a trapped emotion really is, we talk about emotional baggage. And we say things like, that Kate, she just has a lot of emotional baggage, right, Kate?
That's probably true. We all
we
do.
say things like that, not really realizing how much truth there is.
Yeah.
And we all have emotional baggage. And what is emotional baggage, really? Well, as we're living our lives, we experience different emotions from time to time, and sometimes the emotions that we experience are really kind of intense and are very negative. And sometimes we go through periods of depression or anxiety. Sometimes we have things happen like somebody passes away, or we go through the breakup of a relationship and so on. When we're feeling those intense emotions, sometimes the energy of that emotion can become stuck in the body, is what I found. Now, we can measure emotions, or we can measure thoughts electronically. And what we believe about emotions is that every emotion has its own particular frequency. So if you're feeling an emotion of anger, that's a different frequency, a different vibration than an emotion of grief, and every emotion is different. Well, the human body itself, if you think about it, if you get right down to the atomic level, our bodies are really nothing but a very highly organized energy field, right? That's what we are. And so, in fact, the whole universe, the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, the stars, the desk you're sitting at, your chair, everything. Everything is really nothing but pure energy when you get right down to it. And so when we're feeling an intense emotion, sometimes, if it's strong enough, our whole body takes on that vibration. And sometimes it's just too powerful. And in some way that we don't really quite understand yet, the energy of that emotion can become trapped in the body. And we call this a trapped emotion. And trapped emotion is literally a ball of energy from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a cantaloupe. And we all have these. So, Kate, I don't want you to feel bad because Justin has these too. So.
I thought I was.
I thought you were out of the woods.
I thought you skated by, huh? No. Anyway, well, so what happened to me was early in practice, I started having some really amazing experiences with releasing these trapped emotions. And one of the first experiences that I had actually was a woman who came to me who thought she was actually having a heart attack. And she'd been a patient of mine. I'd seen her before, but all of a sudden she shows up at the office and she tells us that for 24 hours she's had this crushing chest pain. It's been getting worse and worse. She's got difficulty breathing. The left side of her face is completely numb. Her left arm is totally numb. And it sure looks like a heart attack, right? And I told my staff we might need an ambulance, so just stand by here. But I took her into one of the other rooms and I started doing some testing on her. And her vital signs seemed okay, and I started doing some questioning. And now what we do with the emotion code is we teach that the subconscious mind is this incredible holographic computer that has all the information in it about what a person needs. And we can access that incredible database by simply using what we call muscle testing or kinesiology. And so I started asking some questions about this pain that she was having, and very quickly figured out that there was an emotion that was behind this. And so we figured out what the emotion was, and this just really takes seconds, but the emotion was grief, as I recall, and we figured out that it had occurred actually 3 years before.
Okay.
And I was figuring this out through muscle testing. When we got to that point, she breaks down crying, and she says, I can't believe that's still affecting me. I thought I dealt with all that. And I said, well, what happened to you? She said that 3 years before her husband had an affair. And it destroyed her life for a while, and of course it destroyed her marriage. She spent about a year in therapy. She'd even recently gotten remarried. And as far as she was concerned, that ex-husband and all of that stuff that went on with him was just ancient history, but not to her body. To her body, all of that emotion was still right there, trapped in the area, actually, right in the middle of her heart, in her chest. And so I released that emotion, and within seconds, the feeling came back into her face and arm. The chest pain was instantly gone. The difficulty breathing instantly gone. She left the office about 10 minutes later, felt completely fine. I'm still in touch with her. She's never really had any other trouble with her heart, and that was probably 24 or so years ago.
Wow.
And so think about this now. We know now, and it's been in the news a lot lately, that people do die from a broken heart. And what they say now is that if you have the symptoms of a heart attack, of course, you want to go to the ER, but don't be too surprised if all the tests come back negative and they tell you you weren't having a heart attack. And you see, this is the kind of thing that trapped emotions can create. And I think that this particular woman very likely would not even be alive on the earth still if we had not released that, because she probably would have had a major heart attack within the next 10, 15 years, and no one would ever have known that the real cause was her husband's affair.
Wow.
This is crazy. So in your opinion, in your studies, what is the difference between, and is there a difference, I guess I should say, between a trapped emotion and like a ruminating thought that people are actually aware of that they have all the time?
Well, trapped emotions can tend to make us they can tend to push us in directions that we don't necessarily want to go. They can lead us to make wrong choices. They can attract the wrong kinds of people into our lives, okay, because they are putting out their own energy, and that energy goes out and into the universe, and then that attracts things to us. And a lot of the time, trapped emotions prevent us from really living the kinds of lives that we want to live. They totally interfere with our ability to not only be completely and fully healthy, but they also interfere with our ability to manifest the perfect life that we are capable of manifesting into this world. You see, trapped emotions are the big interference. If you can imagine being chained to all of the negative experiences of your life, and each one of them is actually a suitcase that's full of rocks, and you're trying to get through life dragging all that garbage. Imagine.
Right. Wow.
And that's how these things interfere. It's really amazing.
Wow, that's just amazing. We got to take a short break here, Doctor. This is to me, this is just fascinating.
I love this.
Yeah, I think that there's so much to healing, and I think a lot of people are just completely overlooking the energetic side of and the emotional side of healing. So we're with Dr. Bradley Nelson. His website is theemotioncode.com or drbradleynelson.com, and this is just fascinating stuff. So we'll be right back after this break. So rebounding is, in my mind, one of the best ways to detoxify your lymphatic system, and it's the only exercise on earth that will actually detoxify your lymphatic system. And your lymph system is responsible for storing toxins and chemicals and poisons that you're exposed to, and there's no pump for the lymph system. It doesn't have a heart, so you have to move it up and down, and it's filled with millions of one-way valves that get squeezed and pushed and opened and closed every time you jump. And we feel like we've found the best rebounder on the market today. It's the Rolls Royce of rebounding. It's called the Bellicon, and I highly stand behind this product. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to hear what some of our guests said about it, check them out on our store. You can listen to what a lot of our guests have said about rebounding, and the Bellicon in particular. So a lot of times people will go on the rebounder with oxygen for cancer if they're really sick, and it's one of the most powerful things you can do to cleanse your body and to exercise every single cell in your body, every organ in your body. It's the only internal organ exercise you could do, and it's absolutely incredible. It also helps to rebuild bone density because of the up and down motion, the G-force that gets applied to every cell of your body, and it tightens and tones your body, and it's just really great aerobic exercise. And the Bellicon is made with straps, these bungee cords instead of springs, so it's silent, and they have a warranty on it. It's the best rebounder on the market today. So if you're in the market for one, I would highly recommend just saving up and getting the Bellicon, because there's no other rebounder on the market that's better than this thing. I firmly believe that. So if you're interested in it, check it out, extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON. And you can learn more about it and watch the videos on that page too. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy your rebounder, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Time here with Dr. Bradley Nelson, talking about the energy of the body and the emotions and all that kind of good stuff. And I think it's so much more important than anybody ever realizes or knows. And I just think it's a huge component to healing. And I think that if you leave out this piece, you're going to be missing a huge part of it. And so, Kate, during the break, we were talking about this as like tax day for people.
Yeah. Dr. Nelson, we were just chatting during the break, and this day brings a lot of distress to a lot of people. It seems like all over the U.S. I'm sure everyone at some point has been stressed out about this day or thinks about this day throughout the year. In your opinion, with that kind of thing, that if you have a huge thing like that causes so much fear and anxiety in people, and people are aware of it, what are some practical things that they can do, like knowing that they have this? I don't know whether you call this a trapped emotion or just a ruminating thought again, but like, what do people do in this situation to kind of alleviate a lot of that stress and anxiety that a day and a thought like that brings?
Well, one of the things, I think one of the first things that it's important to realize is that we are always choosing the emotions that we feel. Mm-hmm. We have a tendency to think that our emotions choose us, or that we don't have any control or any choice over what we feel. And it really isn't true. Now, it can take some practice, but especially on tax day, right? But really, what we can do is we can choose our own emotions, and that's one of the things that we talk about in the end of the Emotion Code book, is how to prevent getting trapped emotions in the future.
Okay.
And so that's one thing that is important. For example, the way that I deal with tax day is, I just realize, hey, this is just how things are, and I can get upset about this, or I can choose to feel anger at the government or negative emotions or frustration or whatever it is, but that's just going to affect me adversely, and it isn't going to change the outcome. I still have to send the check.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Interesting.
So, but let me explain something about the what these trapped emotions do and how they affect us. Now, we talked a little bit about how the human body is really a very complex energy field. Mm-hmm. And when you have a trapped emotion, let me give you an example of this. There was a man that came to me years ago who was suffering from pretty severe low back pain. And we found that he had a trapped emotion of anger. And that trapped emotion, that ball of emotion, that literally a ball of energy was lodged in his low back. And so it was distorting the energy field in his low back. And thereby, you see, because that's all the body is an energy field, when you distort that energy field, what you're doing is you're interfering with the blood flow, and you're interfering with the lymph flow, and you're interfering with the chemical reactions that go on. You're interfering with the balance of the muscles, and you're interfering also with the energy field itself, with the flow of the acupuncture meridians and so on. Mm-hmm. So it causes all kinds of disruption. Well, anyway, we released that trapped emotion, which had, as I recall, it happened, I think, he was really angry about something 20 years before.
Wow.
And it was manifesting as this back pain, which he'd had, I think, for a year or two.
Real quick, doctor. Doctor.
Yeah.
Is there a standard to this kind of thing? Like, can people say, or can you say that all people with back pain have this current emotion with them, or is it different for each person?
Well, it's about what my experience is, it's about a 90% probability. If you have pain anywhere, or if you've been diagnosed with any kind of disease process, or if you have any kind of mental issues or emotional issues like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, phobias, things like that, that trapped emotions are, in the 24 or 5 years that I've been doing this, trapped emotions are always there. They're always present in cancer cases. Okay. They're always present in every disease process. And they're always present in all of these other mental emotional issues that I'd mentioned. Well, so here's how this works. So let's just to get back to our example really quickly. We've got this man now who, for 20 years, has had this trapped emotion in his low back. Mm-hmm. Now, finally, it's imbalanced him enough that he's actually having severe physical pain. So I released that trapped emotion of anger from him, and the pain went from about a 9 to a 0, just literally within seconds, which is not unusual at all. And he was so grateful and very excited. Well, a few days later, he came back to me, and he said, listen, my back is great. He said, but there's something else that I didn't tell you about. He said, I have really had a hair-triggered temper for many years, and I'm always yelling at my wife and my kids, and I've just kind of believed that that's the way that I am. But he said, since you released that emotion of anger on me, I don't feel that anymore. I just feel kind of relaxed, and I'm not yelling anymore. How did you do that? And at the time, I didn't really understand. This was years ago. I didn't understand how that could work, but bear with me on this. Here's what I think goes on with these emotions. When you have a trapped emotion, you literally have a ball of energy in the body's energy field. If you believe Einstein and all the quantum physicists, the body is an energy field. Well, a trapped emotion is a ball of energy that now is inhabiting, that is lodged now in your energy field. And in this particular guy's case, he had this trapped emotion of anger. So here's what would happen. When a situation would arise in his life where he might tend to have resistance or he might tend to feel angry, he would slide right into that resonance of anger and become angry much more easily than he otherwise would, because part of his body was literally already resonating at that emotional frequency, you see. And so by clearing that, now think about your own life and think about the emotions that you tend to feel. When you think about a certain person, can you feel the resentment welling up inside of you? Or are there certain things that you feel blocked about? And trapped emotions are the underlying causes of those. And the beauty of this work, the emotion code, is that what we're doing is we're empowering everybody all over the world to find their own emotional baggage and get rid of it so easily. Right. And it's amazing. We even have kids doing this. And it also works for animals, by the way.
Really?
It does.
Does it work for little 10-pound dachshunds?
Well, it might. You'd have to see.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Well, I read your book. I'm on the very last part of it, and I have that. I tried to cram through it last night, but I didn't make it. But I'm just curious, like, I guess my eyes have obviously been open to this, and I was never even aware of this, as most people are going into it. But what I find really interesting about it is a lot of times in life when we have these trapped emotions, or, like say unforgiveness or things like that, a lot of times people don't have that option to forgive people in this life. They may have passed on, or that's just not a possibility for people that have hurt us or caused us pain in life. So that's pretty amazing when you think about it, that you can still, what you're saying, release all of these things and let it go without having a face-to-face or a heart-to-heart with somebody that we feel like needs to forgive us, or we need to forgive them.
Well, the interesting thing about this work, I've often said that forgiveness, in fact, we talk about forgiveness in the book, that we often withhold forgiveness from someone else because we want to get even with them. Maybe they hurt us and so on. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, when we withhold forgiveness, we're only hurting ourselves. However, when you release the trapped emotions that are surrounding that person or what that person did to you, then it enables your ability to forgive in a really remarkable way. And oftentimes people are able to forgive when before they could not bring themselves to do it, by getting that baggage removed. See?
Wow. So let's say someone is driving down the freeway, and, driving is an emotional thing for lots of people. So let's say someone's got, a bit of road rage, and so those emotions are within them, and they feel like they're the type of person, that gets road rage or whatever, and someone cuts them off on the freeway. What happens? What should they do if they feel that anger starting to well up within them, and they're having these emotions? Because we all have emotions, but the trick is to keep them from becoming trapped. So what can they do during those times of stress in our lives to make sure the emotion doesn't become trapped?
Well, the ultimate best solution is actually to use the emotion code, find and get rid of the old emotional baggage that is tending to create those responses in you now. Okay. That's the ultimate best way. In the meantime, we're getting some echo. In the meantime, what you can do is you can actually think about this process, think about the emotions that you're feeling, and realize that for whatever reason, you are choosing to feel those emotions, and practice choosing a different emotion. Practice choosing a positive emotion. My wife and I often, when our kids do something stupid, rather than getting angry, and this doesn't happen as much as it used to, but still happens once in a while. Instead of getting angry, we'll often look at each other and choose an emotion. We often choose curiosity, and we'll ask each other, "Well, honey, what do you think? I wonder how long this kind of behavior will continue." She'll say, I don't know, honey, I'm curious, but it's better than getting upset.
Yeah. Wow. So now with your work, you were doing a lot of work, or you still do, with magnets with people. How is the body a magnetic system and an energetic system? We touched on it a little bit, but like you're saying before, everything is really energy. And I think a lot of people don't know that.
Well, that's right. The human body is really just this highly organized energy fields, all these energies flying in close formation, keeping your body, holding your body together. And so what I discovered years ago in working with magnets, when I first heard about magnets, I wasn't interested, but then I started having some really amazing experiences with them. And what I found is that we can use a magnet to release the trapped emotion when it is, after we go through a short process to actually find the emotion and release the emotion. And once the emotion is ready to be released, we can use a magnet, and it just literally takes seconds to just kind of wipe that magnet off, basically.
Wow.
Wipe it out of the body. And we thought you had to use pretty sophisticated healing magnets, specially made for healing, to do this. And then we found that really any kind of a magnet will work. You can use a refrigerator magnet. Or if you don't have any kind of a magnet, you can actually use your fingertips, because the body is magnetic itself. Your whole body does exude magnetic energy, and so you can use that magnetic field. It's really about your intention that you have more than really anything else. So
magnets are just really, really interesting little things, and really powerful in terms of how they interact with the body, right? I mean...
Well, yeah, they are, and we could do a whole other show on all the amazing things I've seen with magnets, but the reality is, the nice thing about magnets is that they are just a pure form of energy, and trapped emotions are a form of energy. And so when you have a magnet, you can use that magnet, which is to just take out that other form of energy, that trapped emotion, and And magnets are pretty much ubiquitous. Everybody has some kind of a magnet in their house somewhere, and you can use a refrigerator magnet. Think about that. The refrigerator magnet that you have in your home is powerful enough that using the emotion code with it, you can actually help people to get out of pain. You can fix your daughter's depression. In fact, let me tell you a story. I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, we have about 6 more minutes until break. So.
Oh, okay. This is a great little story, and we're getting some echo there again.
Shoot.
There we go.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I was at an emotion code seminar last year, I think it was, and we were talking to a woman who'd come to the seminar, and she told us about her son. She said she had gotten the emotion code book and gotten the emotion code on audio, and she was reading it and listening to it, and her son picked it up and he started reading it and listening to it as well. And after a couple of weeks, he started practicing on some of his friends, and a couple of weeks later, the phone rang, and this woman on the other end of the line identified herself as the mother of one of this woman's son's friends. And she said, listen, she said, your son has been doing this emotional thing with some of the boys. And she said, I don't really understand it, but she said, I have to tell you something. She said, my son has had a phobia of water that's been really severe all of his life, and we've tried all kinds of different things and taken him to all kinds of different people, and no one's been able to help him. And she said, right now, my son is out swimming in the pool. She said, your son did this to him. She said, I don't know what is going on or how this is even possible, but you've got to fill me in. The amazing thing is, these two boys, 11 years old, using the emotion code. Isn't that amazing?
That is just, it's nuts. You wouldn't think that a little boy or a little girl that age would even need it. I mean, what kind of emotion? Well, I guess they
probably do.
Yeah, little kids are very emotional, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Well, and sometimes we pick up emotions in the womb. You know, mom or dad are going through some intense emotional thing, and we can absorb those emotions, and so we can be born with trapped emotions. We can also inherit emotions at the moment of conception from mom or dad, and they might have gotten those from their mom or dad, and it may go back several generations. And, and sometimes we see the most powerful feelings.
So at the moment of conception, these things can be passed down. So not just genetic expression, but you're talking about energetic and emotional traits get passed down at the moment of conception. That's amazing.
Yes, and they also will affect genetic expression. And so one of the things that we're seeing is that oftentimes physical traits and diseases that seem to run in families often have an underlying emotional cause that can go back generations, you see. And in fact, some of the most profound healings that I've seen were actually from emotions that were inherited and passed down. In fact, in my own life, I had an inherited emotion of hopelessness that I never really knew was there, but all my life I had kind of had to deal with that. And when that was released, my daughter worked on me one day and found 22 generations back an Irish grandmother of mine in the 1500s had this intense emotion. We have no idea what happened to her, but she passed that down all these generations. Wow. And that changed my life. That one emotion changed my life, getting rid of that. So imagine what might you be carrying from your ancestors, you know.
Your book really opened my eyes in a way that I had never even thought about, because lately I've been, the last couple of years, having a few liver gallbladder issues, and upon dealing with my emotions, they have actually calmed down, and I haven't yet released them, and that's the next journey of my life I'm excited to explore. But looking into my the generations before me, my mom's parents both had gallbladder issues, had their gallbladders out. I'm starting to do this work to find, like, isn't this insane? It might not just be me at this time with this issue. It could definitely be generations past. And I just found it fascinating, your whole book, as far as just opening my eyes to all these things I was so unaware of. It's fascinating.
It's really exciting stuff. It's really the frontier of medicine.
Yeah.
And people like, for example, Dr. Oz said not too long ago that energy medicine is the future of healing. It's the future of medicine. And I would submit to you that the emotion code is the future of energy medicine, really, because it's so simple that a child can do it, and yet the results can be so profound. And it also works on animals. I want to tell you a great, really short animal story, but I don't know where we are as far as the breaks. Do you need to take a break now?
Oh, no, let's take a break now. We've got, we're about a minute away, but let's take a break now, get out of the way, and then have a longer section at the end. That'll be great. Okay, we'll be right back after this short break for the Vitamix blender. Love that thing. Okay, we'll be right back after this break. So a few years ago, when I was working for this company, it was a really small company, and I had been wanting a Vitamix blender for years and years and years, but they're so expensive, and I just hadn't saved the money at that time to get one. And so as a Christmas bonus, they knew that I loved the Vitamix, so they got me a Vitamix, the 5000 blender. And that thing is so incredible. It was right at the beginning of my raw food journey, and I was using it about 3 times a day, really. Today, I still use it about twice a day to make blended smoothies and things like that. But the Vitamix blender is really, really great. And if you go to extremehealthradio.com/Vitamix, that will redirect you over to there, and then you'll be able to purchase that, and we'll get a commission for your order. And you'll also get free shipping, too. So that'll be great for you if you're interested in saving about $25 on the shipping. And with the Vitamix, you can make sauces and dips and bread. You could make ice cream with it. I've done a lot of ice cream. You can just make the most incredible things. And it's my favorite because it's got a tamper on it. And you can put ice and frozen berries and avocado and some honey and things like that, and with no water at all, and you have that tamper, and you can make the most amazing ice creams with it. So the Vitamix is my favorite blender of choice, and if you're in the market to buy one, I would greatly encourage you to do so if you have the money for it. And if you do it through us, through extremehealthradio.com/Vitamix, I'll get a little commission for it, and you'll get free shipping. So it works out for you and for us too. So if you're in the market, please do it through us. That'd be really cool. And you're going to love this thing when you get it. You're going to fall in love with it. You'll never go back to a regular blender again. So check that out, extremehealthradio.com/Vitamix, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, we're having a good time here with Dr. Bradley Nelson from drbradleynelson.com, as well as the emotioncode.com. And during the break, Kate and I were talking about some of this generational stuff and how did you know, for example, that you went back 22 generations. But before we talk about that, I want to hear your story. You were going to talk about how the emotion code affects little canines.
Little furry friends.
Little furry friends, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Big furry friends, too. There's a whole chapter in the book, towards the end of the book, about animals and all the amazing animal stories. It came as a surprise to me. I grew up in Montana, and we had horses, but it wasn't until I was actually working on a horse and didn't know where to go. I got to a certain point and was really stumped, and my wife said, well, why don't you check and see if it's emotional? And I thought she was joking, and I laughed at her, and she just kind of glared at me and said, well, just check. And sure enough, it was. But it's amazing how well the emotion code works with animals. Animals get trapped emotions just like people do. And once you learn how to use the emotion code for a human being, you automatically know how to do it for animals. It's the same exact process. We use the same chart and everything. It's the same. Well, here's a great story that was sent to me recently. There was a woman who, one of our practitioners, who was asked to go and work on this little dog. Now, what had happened was about a year before, the floor in the kitchen had been recently waxed, and this little dog was outside. And the owner came home and opened the door, and the dog ran into the house and lost its footing on this very slippery floor and slid into a really sharp edge of something and was injured. Mm-hmm. And it ran back out of the house, and for the next year, no matter what they did, they could not get that dog to come back in the house. Oh. They had to feed it outside. They had to put up a little house, I guess, for it so it could stay warm. And and no matter what they did, they couldn't coax it back into the house. And so this emotion code practitioner goes over and finds a couple of trapped emotions on the dog. And in our materials, we outline how this works and how to do it. It's actually really, really simple. And she cleared the trapped emotions, and it took a couple of minutes for it to kind of settle in, and then the dog all of a sudden got up and just went right into the house all by itself.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow, that's crazy.
Listen to this one. Here's another really short one. This is from a lady named Diane. She said, I do energy work for a trainer with a stable of racehorses and have for years. I had previously applied my energy techniques on the 2 following animals before using the emotion code. She said, horses are like people. You're drawn to some and a few others, not so much. This was the case of 2 particular geldings. They were angry, and you had to always be on guard not to get bit or crushed against the wall or stomped on. I added the emotion code to my work early last spring and didn't mention to the grooms or stable foreman I was doing anything different. The next month, I checked in with the stable foreman and asked how all the horses were doing. She said, I don't know what you did to those 2 geldings, but everyone is starting to love them. They're happy and training wonderfully. One of the geldings went from being a claiming horse to a stakes winner. And the secret was releasing the underlying trapped emotions and the heart walls that these horses had. And that's another thing that we haven't talked about yet, is how trapped emotions can cluster around the heart and can create something that we call a heart wall, which is a wall of energy around the heart to protect the heart from being totally broken, but it can really interfere with your life in huge ways.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I have on the list to talk with you about, and I want to get to that in a minute, the heart wall, and spend some time on that. I was curious, what about things like sports injuries that people have that, like for example, I have a torn ACL that, and pain in my right knee as a result of a sports injury. Are things like, that's obviously not caused by, I don't know. Would that be caused? Would there be an emotional component to that, do you think?
Well, here's what I found when I was in practice, and that is that 90% of the time, sports injury will occur and be facilitated because of a pre-existing underlying imbalance going on in the body. Okay? And so, in other words, let's say that you have a trapped emotion that's imbalancing your knee, and now you're out playing basketball, and you're more likely to injure that knee. So when you injure that knee, yes, you injured it playing basketball, but when you went out onto that court, you were already imbalanced because of that emotional energy that was there. So that's what I find. 90% of the time, there's some kind of pre-existing underlying imbalance, and so correcting those is so critical, because it can prevent a lot of injuries.
Wow. And
when you have an injury, it can help to get that, to fix that. In fact, now, Justin, if you'd like to, I can give you a demonstration of how this works. Do you have pain in that knee right now?
I do, yeah. Actually, I do.
Okay. Well, move it around a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And on a 0 to 10 scale, how would you rate that pain right now, 10 being the worst?
It's probably about probably just sitting here, it's probably about a 4, but it's when I really put a lot of weight onto it. When I, like if I were to do a lunge, how people do at the gym or something, that's when I get a lot of pain in my knee.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look here and see what we can do. Now, the way that this works at a distance, okay?
Yeah, I'm curious about this.
Yeah. Well, what I have found is that the human body has this innate ability to set aside its own needs to act on behalf of someone else, and we call this working by proxy. And so all of this work really came from up above, I believe. During all those years I was in practice, I was praying and asking God for help all the time. And so this was the answer, all this information. And so I don't take any credit for this. And we also teach that when you do the emotion code, it's a really great idea to involve that higher power. So give me just 1 second, and I'll ask for some help from up above for us. Okay, and let's see if we've got a good connection here. So what I'm doing here is I'm muscle testing myself, okay? And we teach a number of different methods of doing this in our materials. But let's see if we've got a good connection. Can I act as proxy for you? Yes, okay, so we have an energetic connection now that's been established. And when I'm muscle testing myself, I'm getting strong answers for yes and weak answers for no. Okay. So let's just ask this question, and I want to show you how easy this is. Is there a trapped emotion that we can release now that has anything to do with this right knee pain that you have? And the answer is yes. I'm getting a strong answer. Okay. So the way that this works is we have a chart of emotions, okay? And this chart of emotions is divided up into 2 columns and 6 rows. So there are really 60 emotions on the chart. Now watch how quickly we can figure out what the emotion is, okay? I have no idea what it is, and neither do you, but let's find out. Okay. Is this trapped emotion in column A on our chart? And the answer there is no, so we just got rid of half the list. Okay. So now let's look at column B, and is it in one of the odd rows in column B? And the answer there is no, so it's in an even row. We've narrowed it down to 15 emotions. We have 15 left. Is it in row 2? Nope. Is it in row 4? Yes, it's in row 4. So we've narrowed it down to 5 emotions. Is the emotion depression? No. Is it frustration? No. Is it indecisiveness or panic or taken for granted? And you know what? It's not any of those. what it means is that when we're taken to a certain column in a certain row and the answers are all negative, it means that it's inherited. So this is actually an inherited emotion, and let's see what emotion this is. So in other words, this is something that you got at the moment of conception. Did you get this from your mother or from your father? It came from your father, okay. And did he get this from anybody earlier? No. So it just came from your dad. In other words, before you were conceived, your dad developed this trapped emotion, then passed it to you at conception. Let's see what it is. Is it inherited depression, or inherited frustration, or inherited indecisiveness, or inherited panic? It's actually a trapped emotion of panic that your dad picked up somewhere along the line before you were conceived. Now, do we need to know more about this? Your subconscious mind says, nope, that's all we need to know.
Wow, that's just amazing.
Wow.
So let's release it. Here we go. Now, what I'm doing is I'm taking a refrigerator magnet, right, and I'm passing it from my forehead over the top of my head to the back of my neck. We're going to do that 10 times to release this emotion. And this is going to release this not only from you, but also from your dad. Now, your dad may be living or may be dead. It doesn't make any difference. And it may go back many generations sometimes, but in this case, it's just from your dad. All right, so let's take a look here and let's ask, did we release that trapped emotion of panic that you'd picked up from your dad at conception? The answer there is yes. Did it also release from your dad? And I get a yes on that too. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is move your knee around now, and let's see how your knee feels compared to how it was feeling before.
Okay. Let me do a little test here. It does feel better. That's really weird. I don't know why I think that's weird, but I believe in this stuff, but I still think that's weird.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Well, on a 0 to 10 scale, how would you rate it now?
As far as 10 being worst pain?
Yeah, it was you rated it a 4 before. So where would you say it's at now?
I would say a 1 or a 2. Probably about a 1, I'd say. That's amazing.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you might have one more emotion in there. You want to get rid of one more?
Yeah. Please.
Okay. Let's take a look. So, yeah, it's just so easy. Here we go. So let's ask this question. Do you have another trapped emotion that we can release that's creating or contributing to this pain in your right knee? And the answer is yes. Okay. What emotion is it? Is it listed in column A? Nope. So it's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows in column B? Yes, it's in an odd row in column B. So that's 15 emotions left out of 60. Is it in row 1? Nope. Row 3? Yes, row 3. So we have 5 emotions left. Is it confusion or defensiveness? Is it grief? The emotion is grief, okay? Now, let's see here, Justin. Let's see, do we need to know more about this? We do. So the emotion of grief, let's figure out when this occurred, okay? So can we ask how old you are right now? Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem. 37.
37, okay. So when did this grief occur? Oh, we're getting some echo again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we okay now? Good.
Okay, so let's ask if this grief occurred prior to age 20. No. See, what we're trying to figure out is when this emotion got stuck in your body. Was it between 20 and 30, between 30 and 35, around 35, 36, 37? So within the last 6 months, sometime within the last year, okay, some kind of grief. Now, this could be grief about, a death of the family, or it could have been grief about something disappointing that happened. You might have felt grieved by somebody. Does anything come to mind that might have created this?
Nothing comes to mind within the last 6 months or year. I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. And if you think about it, that happens sometimes because we obviously can't remember. Even things that happened last week are hard to remember, For example, what did you have for dinner last Wednesday?
Right.
Yeah, we don't remember a whole lot, but that's okay. Let's ask if we need to know more about this. And no, your body says no. Let's go ahead and release this one. Okay. And typically, I'd say probably 75% of the time or so, whatever that was, we'll come back to you. But it might take a day or so, and then the subconscious, maybe tomorrow or later today, your subconscious mind will all of a sudden present it to you, and it'll say, oh, here's what that was about. And you'll realize, oh, yeah. When you slap yourself on your forehead. But what I want you to do right now is go ahead and let's see if we release that, and we did. So now go ahead and move around a little bit, and let's see how that knee feels now compared to how it was feeling before.
Okay, 1 second here. Oh my gosh. It feels so much. This is weird. This is really, really strange. I don't know why, like I said, I believe this is strange, but because I don't, but this is just amazing. It does feel a lot better.
Yeah. So on a 0 to 10 scale now, it was a 4 when we started. How would you rate it now?
I would say probably less than 1, if not 0. I mean, it's really a significant difference. That's really.
So do you have any pain in there at all?
A slight bit, but nowhere near what it was just 5 minutes ago.
All right, awesome.
Crazy.
Great.
Wow.
So you see, basically, it can almost seem like magic that it can work like this, but it's all grounded in quantum physics, and the proof is in the pudding. It works, and it's working for people literally all over the planet who are finding out that, there's an awful lot that we can do to help ourselves. And we're always going to need doctors of all kinds, but the reality is that so much of our pain and so much of our suffering is actually due to our emotional baggage, and getting rid of it can really make changes immediately, and this is a great example of that.
And these are things that people can do. Once they learn this, they can kind of use this, put it on their tool belt, and just kind of use it as they need it throughout their whole life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, it's a tool to use for your whole life. And I can't tell you how great it is as a parent to be able to use this for your kids.
Wow.
Because when they go through some intense emotional experience, you can release the trapped emotions that they just picked up from the bully that beat them up or from failing their classes or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so instead of having that baggage affect them throughout their life and interfere with their ability to manifest their perfect creation that's inside of them, you can nip it in the bud, see? So they're able to have a much better life and much better shot at things, and they're much more able to achieve their full potential, see?
Have you ever used it on babies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously with animals and babies and small things that can't communicate, that's pretty insane. You can kind of step in and be that for them.
Right.
Well, yeah. In fact, we're getting some more echo again. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Are you still getting that?
No,
okay.
Not now.
Good.
I have to tell you just really quickly, we have twin boys that are 23 years old now, and one of them we thought had a hearing problem because by the time he was 4 years old, his brother was a chatterbox, and he wasn't speaking in full sentences still, and so we took him to see different people and had his hearing checked, and nobody could figure out what was wrong. And so we were learning about trapped emotions at the time, and so we decided one night that we would actually work on him. And my wife and I worked on him while he was asleep, because the subconscious mind never sleeps. And so you can get information from people, and as long as you've got their permission or you're their parent. Mm-hmm. And we found that he had inherited this emotion of anger from his grandfather, my wife's father, who was a rageaholic. Wow. And we cleared that emotion of anger from him. And I will never forget, if I live to be 1,000,000 years old, the next morning at breakfast, that kid speaking in full sentences. I mean, it was unbelievable. Just amazing. And so you think about your own kids and grandkids and how this can affect them. It's really amazing.
So you can use this actually for not just for pain in the body, but if someone's feeling stuck in their career, or if they're feeling stuck, like maybe they're looking for a wife or a husband, or if they feel like, they're not doing as well financially with their success and things, you can use this for all of those different types of issues in people's lives as well.
Well, absolutely. And typically what it comes down to with people who are having those issues of love, issues of relationships, issues of financial success and creativity, those usually have to do with the heart. And you see, the ancient peoples believed that the heart was the source of romance and the seat of love and the seat of creativity and really the core of our being. And of course, in the West, we've really dismissed all those ideas as just these, quaint notions of ancient peoples who didn't have the kind of technology that we have today. But we're now realizing, because we do have technology now that is way more advanced than we had even 20 years ago, we're realizing the heart itself is really what they believed it was. We believe now that the heart is actually a second brain, and that the memories of the things, the true affinities of the things we really love are held in the heart and not in the brain itself. And that's why when people get heart transplants, oftentimes they'll report that they've inherited new new things that they really like. Their taste in food will change, and their handwriting sometimes will change and match the handwriting of the donor.
Wow.
Amazing things. And I could tell you lots of stories about that, but there have been books written about this kind of thing. But they've done studies now where using very sensitive equipment, they find that the heart itself puts out a magnetic field that's about 12 feet in diameter. And they've proven in the lab now that when you're feeling love or affection for another person, that your heartbeat will actually become measurable in the brain waves, in the magnetic brain waves of that person that you're focusing that love or affection on. Think about that.
Wow, that's amazing.
So there's a communication going on, you see, between all of us all the time. And what we believe is that the heart really, truly is all those things that the ancient peoples believed. Well, what happens to us sometimes is that we feel like our heart is going to break. We're feeling like we're going to die, or like we're feeling that intense emotion that we call heartache. We often feel those physical sensations, and most of us have felt that at one point or another. Maybe going through a breakup, or someone being really mean to us or hurting us. Well, when those kinds of things happen, it's really, what we're going through is really an assault on that deepest core of our being, on the heart. Mm-hmm. And that heart is really the core of who we are. And so when that happens, your spirit, your subconscious mind, it does not like that at all. So what it will do is it will put up a wall around that heart to protect that heart from being totally broken. And that wall is made from the energy of these trapped emotions. It'll literally take these emotional energies and build a wall with them around the heart. And by the way, 93% of people we find actually have this phenomenon going on. We call this a heart wall. And when you have a heart wall, it's easier to feel negative emotions, harder to feel positive ones. It's harder to connect with other people. It's harder to fall in love and harder to stay in love. And it's much more difficult to manifest that pure creation that each of us has within our own heart, you see, into this world. And so when that heart wall is taken down, and it's part of what we teach in the emotion code, really amazing things can happen. In fact, let's see here. I can tell you, a woman from Mexico City wrote to me. She worked on herself, released her own heart wall. And that's the beauty of this, is that you can work on yourself if you want. She said, I'm feeling an awesome difference since I released my heart wall. To begin with, my self-esteem has gone up to the sky. Think about that. Wow. Secondly, I've been having one creative idea after the other. Where do those creative ideas come from? They don't come from the brain in your head. They come from the brain in your heart, you see. And this is, I believe, one of the most profound understandings of our day. Think about Steve Jobs and all that he was able to create and really change the world. And what did he say? He spoke at Stanford, and he said, all I can tell you is you've got to follow your heart. You've got to follow your intuition. Somehow it already knows what your best creation can be. And I absolutely believe that completely. And she said, I feel the driving force which seemed to have left me long ago is back again with a lot of strength. I cannot really express how grateful I am to you and to God in the first place that led me to find you and your work. Another woman wrote in, she said, the relief is unexplainable to the point of shedding tears of joy for the release of carrying such heavy burdens for so many years. What a wonderful feeling of release that I never dreamed would come true. Think about that. So, wow. I mean, I'm telling you guys, the cat is out of the bag, and this work is so amazing and so transformative and so powerful that it really leaves behind and it leaves in the dust so much of our old understandings about, well, I mean, think about how much people spend on positive mental attitude programs, and they try all kinds of different things to be successful and to find love and to find romance, and it's all about your heart. That's where it all is. You know, I had a practitioner who wrote to me, and she said that in January she took on 3 new clients among her other clients who were all single women. None of these 3 women were in a relationship. They all wanted to be. They all happened to have a heart wall. Well, she took down the heart walls on those 3 women. By Valentine's Day, they were all in love.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Oh, my gosh.
So this heart stuff is really kind of the seed of it all, right? I mean, it's really the core of the whole show kind of thing.
Well, it really is. It absolutely is. It's amazing. Here's one I got, a testimonial I got from a guy named Thomas in Australia. He said, in the past, I've done a lot of work on myself, but could only get so far, and still knew there was something. 2 weeks ago, I did work on my heart wall and released 7 heart wall emotions along with 4 inherited emotions over a period of 2 days. Within a week, I was off my antidepressants and on the internet looking to start more emotion code learning with a renewed enthusiasm.
Oh, my gosh.
That's great. That is so cool.
I might be going out on a limb here, but it's like a double-sided question for you. But how, in your opinion and your studies, how far back do you think people have been using this kind of emotional release in past, generations? Do you think they were aware of it? And also, do you think, this might sound crazy, but when you think of the disciples, after Jesus went back and they were healing people and continued missions and things, do you think that they were using, maybe it's just a miracle and it was a God-given, thing that they were using to heal, but do you think they could have been implementing some of this without even people being aware of it?
Well, I really don't know. As far as ancient civilizations, if they were using something really similar to this, I have no way of knowing. But I'll tell you this: I believe that we are living in a day and age right now when all of mankind's knowledge, everything that has ever been known, is coming back to the earth. Knowledge is being poured out upon the earth at an unprecedented rate, and I think that we are now knowing things and understanding things that maybe have never been known before. The heart wall itself, that actually, believe it or not, how that came about and how I discovered that was a number of years ago. My wife had a dream, and she woke me up early one morning, and she told me that in her dream she saw these 3 symbols, and when she woke up she knew that these were 3 symbols that had to do with her health and well-being, and would I help her to decipher what these things meant? And I said yes, and as I was trying to help her understand and interpret these, I suddenly had what I can only describe as a waking vision, where literally before me I saw this incredibly beautiful hardwood floor, and I didn't imagine this. Suddenly, boom, it was there like I was seeing it on TV or something. It was right in front of me. And at the same time that I have this vision appear, I have this understanding that comes into my mind that my wife's heart is buried underneath this floor somehow. And I had absolutely no idea what this meant. And this lasted for several minutes. And I told my wife what I was seeing and understanding, and she had no idea what it meant. We prayed and asked God to help us understand what this meant. And what came out of this was this understanding of the emotion code. And I don't have this kind of imagination. I could never have imagined something like this goes on. But we are energetic beings, and when we really are hurt, the subconscious will put up a wall. It will build a bunker around our heart to protect us, to protect that heart from being totally broken. Now, she had a heart wall since she was 2 years old, being born into this volatile family. Her father was a rageaholic, very dysfunctional. And so she put that wall up subconsciously to protect her heart. The result of that, though, was that she dealt with depression and anxiety, and it was easy to feel negative emotions, hard to feel good ones. And no matter who she was with, even people that she'd known all of her life, even her own family, she really kind of felt like she was an outsider slightly, like she really didn't quite belong. She was the odd person out, and she always felt like she was on the outside looking in until we released the last emotion from that heart wall of hers. And then suddenly she felt like she was on the inside looking out, and she's made, of course, dramatic changes since then. That was a number of years ago, but yes, the emotion code is I believe, the most important discovery of our age, and it's been called, at least as far as energy healing goes, and it's been called the most important discovery ever in the history of energy medicine.
Wow.
And I think you can see why, Steve.
Well, I have one question for you real quick, too. What happens in a situation like this? Like, I remember a handful of years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I had a pretty bad heartbreak, and my sister and I were taking a road trip from Southern California up to Seattle, and it was pretty new, and it was really heavy on my heart. Well, this thing settled, I believe now, after reading your book, looking back into like my lower back, and I thought I had a kidney problem. I couldn't sit in the car. It was the most painful road trip up and back, and about a month, I had that for about a month, and then it just disappeared. So upon reading your book and thinking that was an emotional response, I'm sure, a physical response to an emotional thing, since that went away, where does that go? Is that what becomes Like, does it settle somewhere else, even though I haven't been plagued by that physical feeling again? What happens in that case?
Well, here's what typically happens in a case like that. It may resurface again. The emotion, you probably have trapped emotions from that event.
Oh, I'm sure.
And you had symptoms then, but then those symptoms went away.
Right.
Those symptoms may come back again, or they may manifest in some other way. See, they may manifest as some other disease process or depression, or they may manifest as a cancer or something like that. I mean, and so it's so important to find these and get rid of these. And I don't know where we're at as far as the time goes, but
right, because they don't just go away, huh?
You probably still have those. Yeah, those emotions are in there, and they're kind of like submarines. They're under, they're under the surface. You can't see them, but then they will manifest. And so, think about this: 90% of the pain that people experience is actually due to their emotional baggage. And getting rid of the emotional baggage, getting rid of those trapped emotions, can make an immediate change. Well, like we saw with Justin,
right.
that kind of thing.
So even
How's
though
your
if
knee,
we
by the way, Justin, move it around a little bit.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. I got to kind of get up from my chair here. Let's do it.
Because oftentimes the effect will continue to be enhanced as time goes by. So.
Oh my gosh, when I was just putting pressure on it, it feels like it doesn't feel like a new knee in terms of having fixed my ACL, but the pain, it's almost gone completely. It's crazy.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
So I'm just curious, in that case with his knee, he obviously sees the difference because the pain was there. In my case, with something that might be stuck in my body, like most people who don't have a physical pain, but we know we have these emotions, what difference, if any, can we see if we get them released?
Well, a lot of the time people have said to me that when their trapped emotions are released, they suddenly feel better, and they didn't realize that they weren't really, they didn't realize that they could feel so much better than they were actually feeling.
Right.
You see, symptoms are really the last thing that finally show up. And they're the first thing that can go away when we start to release these trapped emotions. So you may not have any physical symptoms now, but there may be symptoms that may be percolating their way to the surface from this. And so it's just a really good idea to get rid of these things. It's emotional hygiene, you could call it.
Yeah, I love it. And like you said, I think it's the most important direction that health and healing is going to be going, is this energetic. I'm so convinced of that.
Yeah.
So convinced.
Yeah, it really is the future. So imagine imagine for a moment a person who is eating all the right nutrition, and they're getting their exercise, and they're getting their rest, and drinking a lot of good water, and so on, and yet they've got all kinds of emotional baggage, and they've got a heart wall, and so they wonder why they're doing all these things, and yet they just can't seem to get well, or they can't seem to feel the energy they used to feel. They can't seem to get better. The missing piece of the puzzle, see, is their emotional baggage. And again, the beauty of it is that with the emotion code, they can release that emotional baggage, and they can do it themselves if they want to. We have practitioners around the world. In fact, we just recently certified our 1,000th practitioner worldwide in 39 countries.
No
I
way.
saw that on your Facebook fan page there that happened.
We're pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
That's huge. Do we have time to try one on me?
I do, if you do.
Yeah, can we try it? I'm so curious.
We definitely have time.
Sure.
It's okay. Yeah.
I just want to find out what mine is.
I would love that.
All right, Kate.
Okay.
Well, so let's take a look here, and let's give me just a second here, and I'll ask for some help from up above, okay?
Yep.
All right, let's see here. So, Kate, let's see if we've got a good connection. Can I act as proxy for you? I'm muscle testing myself, getting a strong answer, so that's yes. Okay, good. So we're connected.
Cool.
So let's ask this question. Do you have a trapped emotion that we can release pertaining to that event that you were talking about? And when was that again?
12 years ago?
12 years ago. Is there a trapped emotion about that event that we can release? And the answer there is yes. Okay, so here's what we do. We go to our chart. And out of 60 emotions, watch how quick we can figure it out here. Is it in column A? Yes, it is. Is it in one of the odd rows in column A? Yes. Is it in row 1? Yes. Is it abandonment? No. Is it betrayal? No. Forlorn? Okay, the emotion is forlorn. Now, forlorn is... the old expression used to be forlorn of hope. It's kind of a hopeless, destitute, sort of a sad kind of all rolled into one. Okay. Does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's ask, do we need to know more about this emotion? No. Okay, so let's ask this question, and this is kind of an optional question. Remember that a trapped emotion is a ball of energy from about the size of a baseball, about the size of a cantaloupe. Let's ask where this thing is. Where is this energy in your body? You can't see these, but you can figure out where they are. Is it on the right side of your body or on the left? It's on the left. Is it, let's see here, is it below the left diaphragm? Yes. Is it in the left kidney area? Yeah, it's in the left kidney area, okay? And so that left kidney, now here's how the body works, okay? Every organ and every gland is connected up to a certain muscle or muscles. And so when an organ imbalances, you'll get imbalance also in that muscle. And with the kidney, left kidney will tend to create low back pain because it imbalances the psoas muscle. That's the deep muscle in the abdomen on that left side. But it also will tend to affect the trapezius on the left side. So it'll tend to imbalance that one, which will tend to create neck stiffness and some neck imbalance for you. So, and that's just how that works. So do we need to know more about this? The answer is no. Let's go ahead and release this. Before we do, though, why don't you just roll your neck around a little bit and notice how your neck feels.
Okay.
All right, and then let's go ahead and release this thing. 1, 2, 3 swipes of the magnet is all it takes. And let's ask if we release that emotion, and we did. Now roll your neck around a little bit and let's see if it feels any different.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's kind of a subtle change, see, but this is how the body works. And I've spent my life trying to really understand the body on these deep levels and how things work. And so, And by the way, we were talking a few minutes ago about sports injuries. And how 90% of the time, if you get a sports injury, you were kind of set up for that because there was some pre-existing imbalance, usually emotional. And this is part of the reason why that works that way, because all the organs connect up with the muscles. And so right knee pain is usually related to some kind of gallbladder imbalance. And low back pain is often kidneys and things like that. So anyway.
Now, is it possible for people to, after being released from an emotion, to grab them back?
Can you faded out on me a little bit there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. After the release of an emotion, is it possible for people to actually get them back again by, going back into that same emotion again?
Well, the beauty of the emotion code is that in all the years, over 2 decades now that we've been doing this, we've never seen a trapped emotion come back.
Return. Wow.
Yeah, when we release one, it's gone.
Wow.
That's amazing.
This stuff is crazy.
However, it is possible for a person to create a new trapped emotion. For example, if you were to start going over all that stuff that happened 12 years ago and really getting upset about it again, you could create a new one about that. But the one that we released is gone now.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Wow, that is just...
This is I always wondered, after reading the book, I even got on your website and looked at the practitioners. I thought, oh, this is so cool. I'd love to see how this actually works over the phone, This is fabulous.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
So, Doctor, people can get the book, right? And also go on to healerslibrary.com and find a practitioner in their area?
Yeah, if you go to healerslibrary.com, there's a little button called Find a Practitioner.
Okay.
And we have practitioners all over the world. And the beauty of this is that the person that's right for you might be in New Zealand, or maybe in Europe or Australia, or Shanghai or somewhere like that. And the beauty of that is it doesn't matter, because this work is done at a distance.
Right.
And so, it can also be done, of course, in person. But, what that points out, you see, I want you to think about something for a moment. We are really creating something that's very exciting for people, because now we have 1,000 people around the world who are certified in this work. And they have their clientele that often span the globe, and they can literally work from anywhere. They have a laptop. It's all done online. They talk to the people on Skype, for example, and all you need is a Wi-Fi connection. So some of these people travel around the world, and they work from wherever they are, and they're seeing the world, and they're making money, better money often than they've ever made before, and they're literally changing people's lives while they're doing it. There isn't anything better, I don't think.
No, that's so great.
Gosh.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor, for staying on a little bit extra time. We didn't plan this, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, my mission in this world And I believe that all the experiences that I've gone through in my whole life have prepared me to bring this work into the world. And this work is not about me. I just work here. I'm just somehow I was the person that was chosen, I believe, by that higher power to bring this into the world. But it's coming into the world at a time when, of course, we really, really need it. The world is in a tremendous transformation. All of the old constructs are really struggling. But wow, there's a whole new world that awaits us, and this is a great way to start getting there.
I love it.
This is exciting.
So what kinds of plans do you have? I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. If people follow you on Facebook, they can find out all that stuff. But what kinds of things are you working on and projects you got going and all that kind of stuff?
Well, one of the really exciting things that we have happening is we have a seminar that's coming up at the end of June in Midway, Utah, up in the mountains of Utah. It's actually a body code seminar. And if you go to our website, we have another website actually at Healers Library, HEALERS library.com.
Okay.
And there's information about that seminar there. That's going to be exciting. And I'm going to be speaking in Lisbon, Portugal, September, on the 12th to the 14th, I guess. And we're going to be presenting, hopefully, a lot of the research that we've done. We've been gathering research data now on people using the emotion code, and we have about 15,000 people that we've gathered data on. And we're going to be presenting the results of that research at this conference in Lisbon. And it's going to rock the world, we think.
Wow.
We're pretty excited about that, too.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun. And so people can go on to just Healers Library and find out all these events that are coming up and follow you on Facebook to get all that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, that's so cool. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being on. We love this stuff.
I love it.
What a blessing. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome, both of you. And this is my job to just try to get the information out. So I want to thank you for helping me to get the information out and reach more people. And if you want to have me on your show again anytime, let me know. We can talk about animals or inherited emotions or whatever you want.
Oh, I would love that.
This is great. There's so much left.
Yeah, we barely scratched the surface. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, so Kate, what did you think about that?
Wow.
It's pretty interesting.
I can't thank him enough. I didn't plan on having him try that stuff out on us, but man, I mean, my neck, I'm not kidding, it felt crunchy and strange, and I didn't even think I had a neck problem. And I might have not, but now that he did that, I mean, it's just all smooth, and it's these subtle things that, I just think there's so much power. It makes God so big in my mind of how this stuff can work.
It does, because all these things that happen in the body and in life, all the quantum mechanics and all of the the ways that cells and things like quarks and all of these quantum things that happen in the world. I mean, these are all things that in my mind God created. So
right.
It's just really strange to see how some people don't like to hear that kind of stuff because they think it's weird or
right.
But to me it just makes God all that much bigger.
That's how I feel after a conversation like this.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's just
he is a cool guy, and he's so knowledgeable, and he's fun, and
yeah, he's so
I'd love
cool
to have him on again.
Yeah, we should get him back on. He's great. Dr. Bradley Nelson. So head on over to theemotioncode.com or Healers Library, Dr. Bradley Nelson. In fact, you know what? I'll put all these links on our show page here, extremehealthradio.com/87. And you can just find all the links that way too. We'll have a link to his book on Amazon, and
I highly recommend that book. I am almost done with it. It's taken me a while to get through just because of life happening, but even after talking to him, I just want to haul through the rest of that, especially about the animal healing that can take place. I haven't quite got to that part yet, but I'll knock it out. But I think it's a great book for anybody to read. It's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, I really think this is where healing is going. I think that,
I do too.
Oh man, I mean, the whole energetic thing, everything is energy.
Right. And like he said, I think we're just becoming aware of it, and it's just getting out at this time in our life to the masses.
I mean, maybe that's what some of the ancient civilizations were onto, Maybe that's what all the pyramid stuff was about, and all that kind of stuff. It was all about harnessing energy and things.
Right. It's wild.
Crazy, crazy stuff. So thank you everybody for joining us on this show page. Please support us if you can by going to our store. We've got lots of great products. Like you probably heard, the Vitamix, and we've got the Excalibur dehydrator, which is great. We have one of those. We have a 5 tray and use it all the time. And the sauna It's a great thing. I love that sauna.
Can't say enough about it.
I go in there every single day.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes twice, like yesterday.
Yeah, you went twice yesterday. 2 15-minute things.
Yeah,
didn't you?
I separated them a bit.
Yeah, I went in there for 30 minutes and I watched a documentary. Shocking that I would do that.
When are you not watching the documentary?
No, but we've got lots of great products, so check out our store and please buy through us. That will help support our show and our work and help keep everything free for everybody. And also a thing that you can do that's won't cost any money is write us a review on iTunes. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are finding us now through iTunes, and if you give us a review, hopefully a good one, but just an honest review, that would be great on iTunes. And I want to thank Mike Adams of naturalnewsradio.com for having us on his network. And I want to and also mention that you can sign up to our mailing list too if you're interested in staying on board and keeping track with what we're doing. You can sign up to our mailing list. We have the sign up forms all over our website. You can also follow us on Facebook too, keep track of our show schedule and different things that we're doing. And so I'd love to have you a part of our community like that. And also, I want to thank the people who have donated recently. I really am so appreciative of that and of you guys. You know who you are, and thank you so much. And if you would like to donate, please feel free to do that. We could greatly use your donations. This website, we're not going to charge. A lot of people will charge, $20-$30 a month for a website like this to get all this information, but we just don't want to do that. We want to offer everything for free. So in order to do that and to be able to keep doing that, we rely on your donations because we just want to make sure that people that need this information can get to it for free without having to pay.
Right.
So the challenge is that we have to figure out a way to pay the bills and be able to keep doing that.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah, so that's just a long-winded way to say if you would like to donate, please consider doing that. We would just be so appreciative, and thank you in advance if you do, and really appreciate you. And
yes.
Thank you for listening. And if you want to send our links to your friends, that would be another way to support us, and great thing. So if there's anything that we can do for you, just let us know. You can email Kate.
Yay, I have my own email. Kate@extremehealthradio.com.
That's right. And mine is Justin@extremehealthradio.com, and love to help you out in any way we possibly can.